Morning everybody, 7:30 Monday morning, who's bright and breezy and ready to go. Everybody have a good weekend? I had a fantastic weekend. Before I talk about my line today, which is how to get a win-win situation in the art of negotiation, I had a great weekend. I was at Glastonbury, as most of you will have seen in my post yesterday. So what did I do at Glastonbury? I started off at Ian Drummond's garden for Coldplay. I ended up in my tent outside Ed Sheeran. I talked about that yesterday. Yesterday I floated between the lounge stage and the cinema stage, coming from one and another. I saw the legends on the cinema stage and Lady Gaga. In my lounge I saw some of the other legends, and then I went back to my cinema stage to watch David Bowie, which was absolutely fantastic. Who else enjoyed their weekend? Well, if you didn't have a good weekend and you weren't at Glastonbury, you weren't feeling it. But the art of, this is another subject, completely different. This is the art of kind of fooling in your mind into believing that that you're somewhere else. And the mind will believe what it wants to believe based on what you feed it. That's really what it comes down to. So if you feed it crap, guess what you're getting out? You're getting crap. If you feed your mind positive things and positive thoughts, you're going to get positive thoughts. But that's another story. Anyway, my property journey, day 15. Bought this property in the year 2000. I have had it ever since, and I reckon I've probably about £80,000 in rent on it, on gross rents. I have done refurb on the heating, the double glazing, but the most important thing is the art of negotiation, a win-win, and sometimes it's beneficial to, good morning Andrea, to give a little to get a bit more. And if this makes sense. So this tenant has been with me. He's my longest serving tenant. I'll call him Stephen for the purpose of exercise, because I don't like calling people tenant. But I don't want to tell you his name, obviously, because it might be obvious. So I'll call him Stephen for the benefit of the exercise. So Stephen came along to me and said to me, look Jim, I'm desperate to get a house. I need something. I'm splitting up with my partner. I've got a wee boy, just been born, baby, and I need a 2-bedroom. Unfortunately, I'm unemployed. At this moment, he does work on and off rigs, stuff like that. So he's got a good work ethic. It just sometimes he falls in hard times because of the seasonal fluctuation of his job. So what I did for him is I thought, okay, right, you need a 2-bedroom for definite, but I don't think you're going to get a 2-bedroom allowance from the housing benefit. That's the social, that's the money the government pays towards your rent. I don't think you're going to get a 2-bedroom allowance, but I wasn't very sure at that time, so I needed to test the systems to make sure I knew the right answer for everybody else when they came on board with us. So what I did was I got him to put his application in for it. I got him to put in the amount of rent that the property really costs, as opposed to the amount of rent that he'll probably end up getting, possibly. And I was prepared to take that risk because I knew where I landed in terms of I was still making money. So I'm happy with that. But it was more important for him to have a place for him and his wee boy. And it came back, unfortunately, he never got the 2-bedroom allowance. And we worked on other ways to do that, like discretionary housing fund. There's top-up mechanisms in place, and that wouldn't go either. That wouldn't be allowed either. So unfortunately, he ended up just with what we call a 1-bedroom rate, which is, I think it's about £350, £375 a month. When in actual fact, I could have got £450 on the open market. I was happy with that. I was still making money. A win-win situation. He got what he wanted, and I helped him get what he wanted. He needed a place for his wee boy and him, and I think that's why he's been with me for 20 years, coming up for almost. Probably 17, because I had a few in before that. So he's been with me for a lot of years. But it was a win-win situation, and sometimes when you're renting a property, sometimes it's not preferable to go for the maximum rent all the time to get the best tenant. Morning, Craig. It's all about getting the best tenant sometimes, and their affordability, and his affordability was that at that time, and I think that's why he's been with me for so long. Now, when I think about the logic of this, he could, and the 17, 20 years that he's been with me, I could have had successive tenants in and out over these years, which could have cost me maybe £1,000 every year, potentially for, average tenants 2 years, so £1,000 every year, so £10,000 and empty property, having to do something to it to refurb it to get the next tenant in, having to wait for the next tenant to get in, losing a month's rent because I'm waiting for the next tenant to get in. So when you add all that up and take into account all these situations, it actually nets itself off. So we both ended up in a win-win situation, and I've still got a tenant that's been there all these years. And I think that's the art of negotiation. I remember doing an exercise with Keith Cunningham, who's a very successful mentor. Keys to the Vault, Keith Cunningham. Apparently rich dad. So Keith Cunningham taught me very valuable lessons. And the art of, you've got all the cards in your hand, sometimes it's best to give way and let someone else get some of that benefit as well. I mean, they know you've got all the cards, you've got all the cards, but it'll come back to haunt you. And I could tell you, and sometimes I actually saw in that negotiation where I saw other teams where the guy knew he had all the cards, or the girl knew she had all the cards, and she went, no, I'm going to take all the money to myself because I know, fine, you have to deal with me in order to get something out of it. And these people actually went about and self-sabotaged it just because they didn't like the situation. They would rather have nothing than let this person actually gain anything because they were taking advantage of them, and they knew that. And that's why the art of negotiation, you could set yourself in a win-win situation if you see that situation and allow that person to win as well. And you can both come out winning. And that is hugely beneficial for later on, because these people will remember that and they'll come back to you all the time as a result of that because of what you've done. So I think that's the most valuable lessons I've learned with this property, is the art of negotiation and win-win. Deal at a level where you're both happy with the outcome. And that's my lesson for today. So I'll see you later. This is the start of the working week. We're back in the offices, social distancing, all the measures are in place. Looking forward to it, looking forward to our morning meeting and getting fired up and getting moving on. Bye for today, and I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30.